Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's great to be with you all again. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Claris Update webinar. Our presenters for today's session are as follows: Brad Freitag, Robert Holsey, me, Janine Campbell, and we'll have some special guests joining for live Q&A after the presentation. Peter Nelson, our VP of Engineering, will join us then, and Rosemary TG will help to moderate your questions. So without further delay, it's my pleasure to introduce our CEO, Brad Freitag.
Thank you, Janine. Welcome, everybody. Every moment you spend on our platform helps us. So thank you. And every moment you spend on our platform is an act of trust. Trust that our product will be there, that we will support you, and trust that your skills will be worth more tomorrow than they are today. One of the biggest parts of my job is to earn that trust, to make sure the trust is warranted. And of course, to ensure that Claris becomes the great company you deserve. A company that creates unique value for people who need it, and one that drives growth. It's values like trust that guide us. So let me take you inside of my thinking, and I'll start with the obvious. It starts with an idea of purpose. What is our reason to exist? When purpose is guided by values like trust, we make great decisions. At Claris, our purpose is to help more organizations solve hard problems with technology. You see the emphasis on more, which implies growth, and hard in recognition for the solutions you build, the apps that drive core operations within your accounts. What separates purpose and values from being idle words on a wall is leveraging that sense of identity to drive good decision-making. Today, we're going to talk about a variety of the business aspects. As you see here, we start with focus on customer. In an organization where massive impact is felt by the work you, our customer, the developer, create for them on our platform, understanding your role is significant. So let's hear from our customer.
Without FileMaker, I have no idea what my career would be like right now.
Solving problems with Claris is like building sentences with words, whereas other development languages, you have to learn the alphabet first.
Putting a button on the screen, we don't have to program every little aspect of the button. We just drop it on the screen and it's ready to be clicked, and we just have to point it at what we wanted to do.
It represents a reconnection between customers and developers. It's not only a tool for developers, it's something more.
For me, I would say what's my favorite thing that I like to do at work, and it's to help businesses solve their problems regardless of their size. That's probably the main thing. And the fact that I had a tool that I could do that with, even if I just proof of concepted it first, there's just so many different ways that you can use it.
I'm not sure how to explain this feeling, but it feels great when you're doing something for the community and it brings value to the...
To be able to complete a project and do something tangible to a real company that's struggling with an issue so early on was really great to me.
We can focus on what makes that company's workflows unique and build that in FileMaker, and the rest we can just integrate.
With the powerful tools provided in FileMaker, as well as other tools like Claris Connect, the overall application ecosystem is very scalable, very dynamic, and absolutely amazing.
We're working to solve each other's problems. I mean, that's what this platform does so well. And there's plenty of problems to go around.
There are just an endless number of possibilities with FileMaker of how you can solve a single problem.
So out of the box, without a developer, our platform does nothing. That's why it's so important we focus on you as our most important customer. We need to collaborate with you so that we're creating more value for each of us. Which brings me to the Claris Innovator's Dilemma. If you're not familiar with this view, it's based on the concept that we all need the value of new technology and faster innovation. Getting there is the innovator's dilemma. Here, there is a visual representation of two paths. One, where market leaders are set up to fail as technologies and industries change. And another, where the incumbent can secure their market leadership over the duration. A good example we draw from outside of our industry is Ford, in the way they're managing truth to customer and purpose as they drive their own self-disruption. The F-150 has been a mainstay for contractors needing to move cargo, but there's been a huge shift from an internal combustion motor to an electric. The benefits of that are fewer parts, better quality, over-the-air updates, and environmental sustainability. But the styling and identity and the job that each driver does for that F-150 is similar. This leads me to a cautionary tale I learned from a senior vice president at Apple. He had been here during the transition from Apple II to the Mac and advised me never to force a hard cutover for a developer community. If I make that mistake, I will invite our developers to seek alternatives. So as we zoom in on the trough of this curve, you see at the beginning in a blue line, there's a great phase of growth that flattens out over time. We see the same thing happen up and to the right with the orange curve. But it's that section in between, that trough, that is the turbulence at the heart of the innovator's dilemma. Drawing from that advice I learned, I refuse to force you into a hard choice, whether FileMaker or the Claris platform. And I also commit to minimize the turbulence and make your life easier, as easy as possible, during this phase. We have a good plan that will give you the benefits and minimize some of the challenges. What that insight informs are a set of driving principles. One is our commitment to hybrid cloud architecture. That's to say, we will continue to support on-premise software shipments, and we have also made a huge investment in a new cloud architecture that would generate the benefits of elastic scale and improved performance. And with that, we've made the needed investments in controls, standards, and certifications, including SOC 2, ISO, GDPR, and PCI. Those will continue. Another principle is that we will honor our existing developers and the investment they've made in us. For many of you, that represents years. For some, it represents decades. Malcolm Gladwell refers to this expertise as a required 10,000-hour investment. And we honor that sort of investment that so many of you have made. To prove that, we will continue to support FileMaker Script, the calculations you know. And then the third principle is making your data available anywhere. Whether that data is in Claris Pro, Claris Studio, or as you see with our more recent investments, to cloud systems or legacy data sources. Making the data available anywhere for developers creates a seamless experience for your end users. And it's in this vision that the FileMaker you know and love never disappears. Under the rebrand of Claris Pro, FileMaker serves as the anchor for functionality of the existing platform. And for the foreseeable future, we continue to invest and expand FileMaker. Proof of that would be the recent 19.6 release, where we invested in transactions and improved scripting, and future releases, including modernizing and updating to the latest version of Java. These will be available for FileMaker as well as for Claris Pro. Our intention is that you don't feel a fork in the road. Choosing the Claris platform is still choosing FileMaker. The new Claris platform includes Claris Pro. Claris Pro contains 99+% of the code and capabilities of the existing FileMaker. For any impediment or pain you've experienced, by example, an Active Directory that we support in FileMaker and have not yet supported in Claris Pro, we will quickly remediate. Similarly, with the shipment on Linux OS, we're investing in enablement because we think there are a lot of benefits for our customers to use Linux. We're also investing in containers to ease that process. But understand, that's not religion for us. We're not set on any singular platform. We will support the operating systems required by our customers. And we need to do this with you. We're expressing a new openness, and the communication and outreach will continue. We'll be present in local sessions and user groups, and we're asking that you pitch in to curate and share the work you do to help each other. So for now, and I repeat, for now, Studio and Connect are extensions to Pro. Developers who see this are already doing valuable work. Over time, these experiences will become a singular Claris platform. And as I transition to Robert, who will focus on the several upcoming sprints with new feature capabilities that will be available to you in Studio, as well as automation and integration capabilities through Connect, I want to share with you one parting thought. I commit to minimizing the period of transition, and we will truly try not to ask you to adopt anything until it's ready for real work. I ask you to commit to locking arms with us and at least testing whether the new functionality supports your business as it's ready. When it's useful, use it. And if not, tell us. With that, transition over to Robert to give you the latest product updates. Thanks, Robert.
Here at Claris, we have been helping people solve difficult problems with technology for a long time. We have built a deep and robust product in FileMaker, one that has provided you in the course of your career the confidence such that no matter what the challenge the customer comes to you with, you know that you can say yes. However, as we look around at how the world is changing and continuing to evolve, it makes us hyper-focused on where we need to provide you additional tools so that you can continue to have that confidence in saying yes. Which brings us to the Claris platform, standing on top of all the power and flexibility that you know and love from FileMaker, now rebranded as Claris Pro, where the skills that you've built and cultivated over the course of your career, the calculations, scripts, and layouts you designed will continue to work and move forward with the platform. However, now they're going to be much more tightly integrated with the new additions in Claris Connect and Studio. With Claris Connect, you're going to be much more easily able to integrate to all the different web services that your solution is likely found in the middle of. And with Claris Studio, you will now have a tool to provide rich-based web experiences for your users, as well as a backend we have heard you all asking for that's performant and scalable, such that you can then start reaching beyond your team and to your customers' customers to do data collection or surface information to them. So with that being the Claris platform, let's talk a little bit now about our approach as we've been rolling this out over the last year. Back in May, we released our first version. You can think of it sort of as the foundation of Claris Studio. We had new teams who were standing up new technology, and so we wanted to really focus the team on a narrow use case that we knew would address a current gap in the community. And so we settled on data collection, something that can be done with the platform today, but it requires additional overhead in work or licensing from third parties. So with Claris Studio, we can provide you something as part of the platform to solve that challenge. And then over the summer, we really built out the foundation of the platform as a whole. In the first release, Studio could only talk to a special version of FileMaker, and it was only read-only of the data. We built it out now so that you have read and write access across not just Pro, but Go, WebDirect, and Server. We also introduced Claris ID across the entire platform. So now one login could get you into Claris ID, making it much easier to, into Claris Connect, making it much easier for you to integrate into different services, as well as use that same Claris ID for Pro and Studio. We, again, focused on a use case that would expand the capabilities of the platform, one that stood on top of one of our current strengths, which is using FileMaker to pull data from different systems, whether it be through ODBC or through curl commands, processing that data, compiling it, getting it ready for reports, maybe using server-side scripting. And here is an opportunity now for not only Connect to make it easier to pull that data together, but Studio with the addition of new views, the ability to put those views into hubs, new objects like charts, views like dashboards, to surface that data and propagate it across your organization. And then phase 3, which is where we are now, we're standing on top of those two foundations with additional building blocks or ingredients, as you were, to solve challenges that are a little bit more complex. And here we chose something like project management, because again, it's something that pretty much every business faces, one that we've seen many times in the past, people use FileMaker for. And it gave us, again, something to shoot for as we were building out these ingredients that you could then combine into many different use cases. So let's drill into that a little bit further with our current focuses. The first two buckets are really about just knocking down friction into getting into the platform and then making it much wider so that more folks can come in and experience the value. We're currently working on a version of Claris Cloud that has Studio integration, much like Claris Server does. We're making iterations on our first versions of Linux. So you will now see there is a new white paper out to help you understand why we chose Linux and some of the values that it provides to you, but also install instructions that are continuing to get much simpler as you all provide feedback to us. We are working on external authentication, so things like supporting ADFS, increasing the number of languages we support, as well as the data centers that we have around the world. We're also expanding reach. We'll hear a little bit more about this from Janine shortly, but we have a new free tier that we're working on that will allow anyone to come in and experience the platform. And by making it available through the Mac App Store, we'll have some more organic discoverability through that store. And then expanding on the capabilities of the platform sort of fall into two chunks. One is about making it much easier for you to connect to more things. So one part of that is allowing you to create your own custom connectors using JSON, and then you'd be able to copy and paste those and share those within the community. We're also making it much easier for you to integrate between Connect and Studio, so triggering flows directly based on Studio data, as well as improving the connection between Pro and Connect, so that you'll no longer need to understand curl or JSON in order to trigger a flow in Connect. I mentioned earlier additional building blocks. We've got some new views that we're working on. We'll see shortly. Some new object types. We're starting to get into calculations and automations, which we'll see. And then the final chunk here is really some continual iterations that we're doing on things that have already launched. So over the last 6 months, we've heard feedback on some of the limitations for data collection as an example. So we've added the ability to do signature capture, getting container objects, branching paths of those views, of those forms rather. And we're already starting to get some feedback on that and making some enhancements to the user experience and overall functionality. Double-clicking even further, let's talk about a couple of these, one of which is automations and calculations. So in a recent release, we've added the ability for you to take your first steps into customizing an experience based on user input. Again, very narrow, and we're starting simple here, where you'll be able to show or hide a field based on some conditions. So here, when a particular field has a value, we will hide another field. And that's pretty cool. Pretty quickly can, with a couple of clicks, solve a pretty common use case. But we are a developer platform, and so while this is interesting and could definitely, as I'm a developer, just very quickly allow me to solve a problem, I think what's more interesting is what's going on behind the scenes, where we're actually generating some low code based on those user inputs. Now, you as a developer, this is really important for you for cases where maybe you're inheriting something that someone else created. Think about all the times where you've had a customer pick up the platform, sort of cobble their way through something that sort of works, get in over their head, and then want to hand it over to you. Well, now instead of you getting handed the very well-intended creative mess that they've created, you will get a well-formed code here. One that takes influences from not only our scripting language, but other modern influences. So you have things like dot notation, type ahead, color coding, error handling right in place, and allows you to then take what was created very simply through that click and point input and start expanding it with something that you feel much more comfortable with, which is code. Next, I want to talk a little bit about data visualizations. We've added things like spreadsheets and Kanbans and dashboards, and now we're working on one that's really useful for doing project management or maybe even event management, laying out when events are going to happen, which is this new timeline view. And this is something that I've definitely seen people create in web viewers with JavaScript in the past. While this is very cool, I think what's really interesting is as we add all of these different views to your disposal, and you're sitting down with new potential clients and they're rattling off to you all the requirements that they have, instead of you needing to then go and cobble together an example based on maybe some previous projects or finding some examples in the community to prove that this platform is capable of what they're asking, you can now just bring up Studio, create these views very quickly, show to them, prove to them that this platform is capable. And if you do down the line find that, hey, they've got a requirement that's beyond what Studio can perform now, well, you still have all the rich power of Claris Pro with web viewers and JavaScript to then fall back on and expand on. Now, those views and that example I gave you is great as you're trying to stand things up, and it's awesome for sending out those views to other users through a web browser. But we totally recognize there's times where you've got users that are going to be right inside of Claris Pro, and you want to leverage those views you've created in Studio. So that's why in parallel we're working on a new object that would allow you to display a view that you've created in Studio directly inside of Claris Pro. And that's what you're seeing here on screen. This is a native Claris Pro window rendering a spreadsheet that we've created in Claris Studio. So you get all the benefits that you expect in Claris Studio, but because you're passing it into a Claris Pro window, we're hiding the obvious additional toolbar options. We could provide you additional properties, so maybe you can hide some of these additional objects here at the top. But something else subtle is happening. If you look at these now side by side, Claris Pro on the left and Claris Studio on the right, you may be noticing that you've got alternating row colors. You have no vertical line separators in the Claris Pro side, different highlight colors. And that's because we're passing some custom CSS so that the view, when it's viewed in maybe a Mac OS device, will feel more at home. And so if we can do that, you can imagine in the future where we'd also be able to take that information from your style sheet from your theme that you've created and pass that down into the view as well. So something that we are currently looking at and exploring. And then lastly here, I want to talk a bit about those custom connectors. This is something that we've been really excited about for quite a while. And what I'm showing you here is actual working code. This is something that is currently in ETS. We've been getting some really great feedback on. And much like Claris Studio, you have things like type ahead, color coding. And as you go in and type in this case, we're using JSON, and maybe you find that you've got some errors. Again, just like Studio, you'll be able to see those errors highlighted and additional information provided to you. Now, we haven't skinned them exactly the same yet, but we're using the same technology under the hood, so you'll get a nice cohesive experience across the platform. Now, once this has been created, it works just like any other connector that you may be using that comes stock with Connect. And while we don't yet have a marketplace or sort of a built-in way for you to share these, it is just JSON. So you can come in here, select the text, copy it, paste it into an email, paste it in the community, and share it to your heart's content. Now, this last thing before I move on, this is a screenshot that captures the moment where Ronnie Rios, one of our product owners here, is the first person outside of engineering to create a custom connector. It was very exciting. I love in this Christian's just prideful grin. And I love sharing this because it shows you how much of a nerd we are internally. We really do love this stuff, and we're really excited to have this in all of your hands. So before I hand this over, I want to wrap up with why the Claris platform, why we believe so intently in this. And the first is one of impact. We believe that through Claris Studio and the ability for us to do more of the heavy lifting in sort of the views that you're creating, and then introducing things like Claris Connect to make it easier for you to integrate, we're giving you time back so that you and the incredible skills you have built up in your career can focus your energy on the bigger, more challenging problems focusing an organization, making you therefore much more important to that organization. We also see it as an opportunity to create more Claris champions. You know, this platform as a whole, where an organization is already licensed because you are creating Claris Pro apps for them, now has Claris Studio, which means that as you've got team members that are trying to solve challenges and adding to a backlog that you can't get to because you're already really busy on other aspects of the business, you can now give them Studio, or soon you'll be able to give them Studio, and they will be able to start solving their own problems. And as I mentioned earlier, with examples like the automation engine, as they hit the bounds and need to then hand over to you, great, we're creating a great on-ramp for that experience. But in the meantime, because we're creating things that are so easy to create, things like the action engine for solving simple problems, they're going to be able to get to that aha moment. They're going to be able to start seeing the value in this platform, and the next time there is a license renewal, instead of you being on an island trying to justify your existence on your own, you will now have these other champions standing by your side. This also means that they will have a platform that they're already licensed for to solve those kinds of challenges, instead of looking for third-party off-the-shelf or less capable other low-code platforms. And then finally, we are advancing very rapidly. We are launching updates to Studio every 2 to 3 weeks, and we are hearing some great feedback that's helping drive the direction that we take this. So even if you see Studio and not a place that brings you value right now, I highly encourage you to stay tuned, dial in with us, because not just Studio, but Claris Pro and Connector are moving fast, and the ability to get feedback from you all is super valuable to both of us. So with that, I want to say thank you and hand things over now to my colleague, Janine. Take it away, Janine.
Thanks, Robert. And hi again, everyone. For the rest of the presentation, I'll be sharing more about our developer-first focus and the actions we're taking to empower you all and continue to build trust with you, as Brad said earlier. Our focus puts our developers first. We exist to empower you. We recognize that we need you to drive awareness, consideration, and adoption of the platform. And so we're focused on growing our developers and increasing your capabilities. To do this, we need to focus our strategies in these areas, to grow the number of Claris developers in our community, and to make those developers more powerful with our tools and technologies. We're refocusing this growth in a few ways, so let me start with recruiting new developers. As many of you know, we've had great success with partnerships with bootcamp academies like 42 and Quasar, and most recently Apple Academies. The volume and quality of the students coming through these programs is very high, and those of you involved are recognizing this quality and finding new talent, offering career opportunities through internships to some of these individuals. Our intention is to continue recruiting more developers to Claris through these coding academies and boot camps. We are launching the next cohort with Quasar next month, and we have plans for another cohort of students with Apple Academies next quarter and beyond. These efforts bring us quality talent and help people begin professional careers as thriving developers. And these are real people who are proud of their identities as professional Claris developers. And they share that pride publicly, as you can see here. We will be doing more to scale our recruiting efforts, and we ask for your support. Now, you might be wondering, well, how can I help? What do these programs look like? Here's a quick glance at the rough 10-week curriculum that we deliver during these bootcamp programs. The areas where you can help are specific to the learning and earning portions for these up-and-coming developers. As we modify our curriculum to introduce and enable our new recruits to the full breadth of the Claris platform beyond the FileMaker experience that you already know, you can help as mentors, instructors, or potential employers, or by simply hosting office hours to support the students as they build their apps with Claris and seek guidance or feedback on what they've created, or maybe to share best practices for preparing resumes or interview preparations. Our community is known for being one of the most supportive and generous in the industry, and here's an opportunity to demonstrate that. If you have any interest in participating in these programs, please contact me directly. I want to hear from you. The second area of focus on our developer-first strategy involves enablement and engagement. Let me start with how this pertains to content and events. We recognize an opportunity for tighter collaboration with our community in both of these areas. Opportunities to engage and learn help developers to advance with the platform and build confidence. This aligns with what I mentioned earlier about making developers more powerful using our tools and technologies. Historically, we've taken a Claris-centric approach to content and events, and we're proud of what we've produced, but we recognize that our community does so much to share knowledge and create content and engagement opportunities that helps everyone to advance and build the confidence needed. To put it bluntly, our capacity is dwarfed by yours, and we see that together we can boost both what we create and what you create to make it easier for people to find things that will help them learn the platform and deliver value faster. So we are taking steps to make content easier for everyone to find and engage with. This is going to happen in phases, and here you're seeing the first step in curating great content and making it more visible. As of today, you'll notice an update to the community homepage. We've added a card to highlight great Claris platform resources, so they're easier to find right on the main landing page. It features some from Claris and some from the community. These are linkable, so by clicking on each title, it takes you directly to the source. There are great examples of content produced by our community, and here are just a few. Our intention is to create greater visibility into more of this content going forward. This is the first step, and it will iterate quickly. So if that update to the community homepage is phase 1, this is a rough glimpse into phase 2. We think of everything in the form of a journey, and this image honors that approach. It's a wireframe of our plan for a more curated path for success with Claris. You can see our intended topics for initial content, specific to the Claris platform, and how to start with the components of it, like Claris Studio. In the coming weeks, we will launch the first iteration of this new curated learning path. It will promote both Claris and community-produced content in a variety of formats to help advance developers on the journey, regardless of the content source. Expect this to iterate quickly. As we measure how users interact with it, we'll update the content based on their feedback, doing our very best to curate the most helpful content under the right topic. We're still planning how we'll select what's listed under each step of the journey, so stay tuned for more on that in the coming weeks. For now, if you are a content producer, be thinking about what you have planned, how it supports this journey, and we'll let you know soon how you can share with us what you have so we can work together to make it more visible. Now I'll shift to engagement through events. We've attended and sponsored several events in the last year, and meeting you where you are is meaningful to us. This will continue. Expect to see more of it in the future. Let me acknowledge what I know you're all thinking about. We had to cancel Engage twice, and the nature of larger events changed a lot throughout the pandemic. So we're exploring what our in-person event plans could be for the coming year. Our intention is to resume with our own event, As You Knew Engage, in addition to promoting and sponsoring the events delivered by the community. I don't have anything specific to announce today about a Claris Engage 2023, but please know that we value the connection created through in-person events. We get it, we support it, and we'll invest in it. Additionally, I want to acknowledge the user groups and meetups that happen weekly, where we've been more present on a regular basis. Since the beginning of the year, we've attended 10 of these events, and we'll keep showing up to hear and learn from you. Now, let me shift to one final topic aligned to our developer-first approach. It leads me to the impact of a free tier for Claris. It changes everything about our approach and is in service of our purpose to help more organizations solve hard problems with technology. For you, our developers, it allows you to take what you know and expand with access to the complete platform, removing barriers so you can introduce Claris to others, creating more champions, to steal a few of Robert's words. For the product, you also heard Robert say that we are a developer platform, and what's coming has that at its core. For example, building your own connectors is something you'll be able to try using the free tier. Plus, you'll have all the rich power of Pro, tightly integrated with Studio and Connect. This aligns with our focus on giving you more capabilities to deliver more value. For new recruits, this means not only coding academies, but other channels like community colleges and K-12 students who will be able to explore Claris. And for enablement and engagement, we'll ensure that content we make visible through all of you is paired with actual users experiencing Claris through the free tier. Removing friction for people who want to learn with better visibility to content, our goal is ultimately to enable successful deployment and adoption faster. And it's coming very soon. We've already completed a first phase release of free on a limited basis for initial testing, and we're moving to the next phase in the coming weeks. We expect that free access to Claris will be more widely available in the coming months. So, for those who have, thank you for signing up to be notified when the free tier is available publicly. For those who haven't, please sign up today so you're on the list and get the notification. And for those you know who should sign up, please share this so that they can be notified as well. Thank you all for your attention today. And now let's turn to your questions.
Thank you, Janine. And welcome back, Brad and Robert, and welcome, Peter. And we have quite a lively discussion going on in the Q&A, and I know we've answered some as we could, and we will post answers to additional questions that we don't have time to get to today in the Claris community. So please watch for that later this week. So first question, Pete, I know Brad talked about data everywhere or data anywhere in the presentation. And can you give us your perspective on what that means?
Sure. We are building a platform, but that platform is comprised of a bunch of different pieces that are designed to work really tightly together, specifically Connect, Studio, and Pro. And they each have their place in the platform, and they each serve a valuable purpose in the platform, but you can't solve any one problem with just any one of those tools. So what we want to be true for all of our developers is that when you're solving a specific problem, you can use the right tool. And in order to enable that, that tool needs to put its data in a place where all of the other parts of the platform can leverage and use that data. And that's a lot of what we've invested in over the last year. And what it's also going to let us do then is add functionality to the right part of the platform, the place where we can add it fastest, or the place where it can most ably solve a customer's problem. And we don't have to worry as much that customers won't be able to use that part because they can all work together and share data together.
All right, thank you. And Brad, there have been quite a few questions about both how Claris will be licensed and if Claris Studio and Claris Pro are included in customers' current FileMaker licenses. Please answer any of those questions you can.
Sure. I won't answer the questions directly as you ask them, but by the end of next month, we will roll out new pricing that outlines our approach for the Claris platform going forward. The goals are to significantly simplify what we've done from a pricing perspective. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of communication, written communication, webinars, and otherwise to outline that, and would set your expectations for about the 1 month time frame, certainly by the end of next month.
Thank you. And Pete, one of the things Robert mentioned is that we're working on expanding the data centers for the Claris platform. Are you at a point where we can estimate specifically when Japan and Europe will be available?
Yeah, and we can share a little bit more color about what's been going on behind the scenes and how we're thinking about data center expansion. Before Studio, if you looked at our cloud properties, they were all hosted on Amazon's web services. And that's a capable platform, obviously. We know it well at this point. For Studio, we made a decision to build it first on top of Google's compute property. And we did that for a number of reasons. The primary one being we didn't want to be completely constrained and have a single point of failure with a third-party provider. And we've learned a lot doing that, but part of what we've learned is that our ability to span the globe rapidly and safely on that platform is not what it would be on AWS. And so we decided to take a couple of months and pay a tax moving Studio back to AWS, to Amazon's platform. And that's why you don't see Japan and a Frankfurt data center rolled out right now. But once we've completed that work, which should complete in the next month and a half or so, we're going to be in a position to roll out worldwide much faster than we would have been otherwise. So we pay a small tax up front, and then we're going to move much faster throughout the rest of the year with our global expansion in terms of data centers.
Robert, I've seen a lot of questions asking why customers would make the jump from FileMaker to Claris. Do you want to can you talk about the value of the entire platform and possibly point to any resources that you've seen that are really effectively tell that story?
Sure. And it kind of gets built off of what we've been talking about here around the Claris platform as a whole offers you a set of tools that you can then use for whatever challenges you're facing. When we have challenges in front of us today for things like data collection, it oftentimes requires you as a developer to either go through and build some custom code or go and use third-party licensing to solve those types of challenges. And now at Studio, you're able to solve those directly as part of the platform. And I have that tight integration that Pete was just referring to. And as we start building out that platform, it also allows you as the developer to start offloading some of those challenges that build up on your backlog that you don't have access or don't have time to get to. And I talked about it earlier as an opportunity to start building more champions in an organization. The other piece of it being Connect, allowing you to more easily integrate with the various web services and having all of those tools in one place and having all of your data in one place that you can leverage across that platform is where we see a large part of that value.
As far as specific resources to point you to, the first thought is some of these webinars that we've got, but we will be working on additional places on our website that will try to more concisely call out what these value statements are.
Can I make Robert's statement a little bit more concrete? I think Robert is one of the individuals on the planet that knows the existing FileMaker and Claris Pro platforms better than any other. And there's a video that I think is shared publicly of him standing up and creating anonymous data capture within Pro as part of a solution. It takes him about 45 minutes to build it from scratch. It takes him less than 4 minutes to build it through Studio. It's a 90% time saving. That doesn't mean Studio is the perfect app for building everything, but it means if you want to build an anonymous data capture system and publish it on the web, Studio is fantastic for it. It is the right tool for it, and that data now is shared with the rest of your Pro solution seamlessly without you having to do anything else. And that's what I meant when I talked about this platform being a set of tools, and we want you to be able to use the right tool for each part of your problem. But the expectation is that you'll use them together. So the other answer I'd give to this question is, with Studio and Connect, you just get additional capabilities above and beyond what Pro gives you today.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Pete and Robert, and thank you, Brad. We are at time. As I said earlier, we do commit to coming back and answering additional questions in the Claris community over the next few days, and we will publish this recording. In addition, you'll receive a follow-up email that has the link to the recording, the link to sign up for the free tier, and also a link to a survey to let us know how we did in this webinar. So thank you for your time today, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks all.